Hello everyone and welcome back to the Toby channel for another Fantasy EFL video. It's game week 2 time. I am so buzzing to be back. Of course, we're in the usual setup. This week we're ready to get things going. We've got all the stats for you, everything that you could want before we get ready for game week 2. We've also got the world number 1, the reigning champion of the world, Charlie Fantasy EFL on the channel. So happy to get Charlie back involved. He's always been super happy to help out. Last year when he was absolutely smashing it, and this year, which I'm sure he's going to smash as well. So happy to have Charlie on. Stick around for the Experts Corner later on to see who he's got in his current draft for game week 2. But for now, let's not waste any more time. We've got so much to discuss. Let's get into it. However, of course, before we get into all of the game week 2 action, we've got to recap game week 1. I'm so happy to be back recapping and having a look at how we did last week. And this week we can actually be excited about it as well, because I do think that we had a good week in game week 1. I think that it went well. We got 67 points. I'm leaving the 6-7 jokes in last season. We're not going to make a joke out of it. But yeah, super chuffed with it. I think that it's a very good shift, especially when all of the player base is actually active and the average being 44. I think that we did very well to be kind of a decent bit above. But I think that a lot of people had tough weeks. It was a week where a lot of the big assets didn't do too well. So the fact that we came through with a good score at the end of it, I'm really, really happy about. If your week didn't go too well last week, don't be disheartened by it. It's literally 1 week. I remember last season, my first week went well, and then within 5-10 weeks, I was outside of the top 10k. I was struggling so much. So it doesn't really mean everything if you have a good start. And on the other hand as well, you might start badly and then slowly work your way into it. Especially if you're new to Fantasy EFL, I think that you'll probably get better as the season progresses as well. So keep the faith. Don't be too disheartened or don't get too excited by your start, because we've got a long way to go. Well, do get excited if you're doing well. By all means, get excited, because that's the fun of it, isn't it? But yeah, let's just have a quick breakdown of the team anyway. Lancashire with the brace, the last minute winner, which also helped out the Middlesbrough pick, who scraped by in the end with the win, but we got there, so I'm chuffed with it. I would have actually liked more than 7 points from a pick from Middlesbrough, because I feel like I'm probably going to end up maxing them out 5 times over the course of the season. But it is what it is. Watmore, who's one of those differentials that we identified last week, did really well. Did actually benefit from Huddersfield getting a red card, because he had loads of action to get loads of clearances, so that was good for him. Yeah, the team pick's just about getting there. Lewis Wing, very solid as always. Yeah, it was fine. McCracken got a clean sheet, happy with that, because I'd kind of identified that Bradford defence as something that I wanted for a couple of weeks before kick-off. The big disappointment was Gomez, really, from Wolves. I was watching that Wolves game on the Friday night on holiday. I'm sorry to the missus for making her watch all the EFL games, but the season's back. Priorities have to come into play here. But yeah, watching them concede was a bit disappointing. I actually thought that Wolves didn't play very well at all in that game. I do still think that their assets are going to be good going forward, but maybe, it just goes to show that just because these assets are big names doesn't guarantee them points, and that there's so many other places in Fantasy EFL where you can get your points. But I still think the Gomez is going to be a good asset. The Trippiers, the Jimenez's, he got a goal as well. So yeah, we move. It's only the first week, but a good week to start off from a personal point of view. Yeah, we've got to be happy with it, and hopefully more of the same coming up. So the key information for game week 2, and actually before we get into the key information, I want to talk about a key kind of part of my life, which has been this channel and the growth of it. I've been saying I wanted to hit 1,000 subscribers for the whole of the year, basically saying this year, and I do think now it looks like it's so possible. The support on the channel for the start of the season has genuinely just been absurd. It's been a blur, and I know that I'm still just a small drop in the ocean in terms of YouTube content creators, but we gained over 100 subscribers last week, which is just mind-boggling growth for me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to everybody who's been here from the start, for everybody who's new along the way. If you could share the channel to anybody who wants to get involved, and also if you could subscribe if you haven't already, because there's still about 50% of my subscribers, 50% of my viewers who aren't subscribed, which shows that the channel could grow even more. So if you can help out, if you can hit subscribe, that will mean the absolute world to me. But enough of the plugging, enough of the soppy stuff. But I just want to say that I appreciate you all so much, because this little kind of passion project of mine blowing up has just been crazy. I know it's not blowing up like getting millions of followers, but like for this, the size of our game, it just means the world, and what a community we have. Anyway, game week 2. all 72 clubs are playing, which is so exciting. Again, we've got the same as game week 1. We've got all of these big teams. Everybody's an option. You can pick any player who's fit in the game. There's no doublers, just a single game week for all 72. So I love these weeks. I think that there's just so much variety. Obviously, sometimes the swings can absolutely kill you because there's so many different ways of getting points, but I'm very, very excited about it. Yeah, we're back on home soil. We're going to have a full-on video like we had for all of last season. So if you're new around here, we start with a section going through the clubs that we like. We have a big table of statistics, which you'll see shortly. Go through all the defenders, the midfielders, the forwards, and then we'll have experts corner where our expert joins us like we had last week, and then my team selection as well. So I'm back from Italy, so happy to be back and filming the videos, although I'm going to miss the food and the pizza and the pasta and Palermo FC, who really touched my heart while I was out there as well. But yes, so happy to be back filming these from home. Yeah, I'm going to say avoid using your chips this week because I just don't think it's worth it early on. I don't think that the one club chip has any value this week whatsoever. I think that you're actually hampering your chances at succeeding if you use it this week. The max captain, maybe you could use it. They're not the craziest strong chips in fantasy like you might have with a wild card or something in Fantasy Premier League, but I would just save those chips for the, you know, the smaller double game weeks or the big double game weeks when you're just not sure on who to captain because your team looks so strong. I think that they've got a higher ceiling then as well. And finally, West Ham versus Charlton. West Ham have been dominating the chat in Fantasy EFL. We all know that West Ham are going to be really, really popular, but this week more than ever it's a good fixture for them, so we're going to be talking about them a lot. I'm sorry if it seems boring because everybody's chatting about it, but we have to do it. They're going to be very popular this week. So now let's get into the stats because I'm so happy that we'll finally get to dive into all the numbers. So the game week 2 club selection, here are the highlighted clubs that I'm really liking the look of this week. I do think that last week's kind of different formatted video worked pretty well, which was quite chatty, especially the differential section because we highlighted some amazing differentials who absolutely smashed it. We spoke about Watmo, we spoke about Harry Boyes, who ended up scoring 2 goals. I said that I love his attacking prowess, especially from watching him at Wickham and from looking at the stats that he's had before. He got 2 goals, so hopefully we can identify some more players like that. Elias Chair we spoke about. I spoke about on Fantasy EFL's channels as well about Casey Palmer, who also smashed it. So let's hope that this week we can kind of have the same as last week where we identified so many of these players who did super well. But the club section, first up, we've got to speak about West Ham. I think personally I'm keeping my West Ham picks for double game weeks because I think that there's going to be so much value in them for them. I think that they're a team who are going to be looking good for a win against any team in the league, so using them in the single game weeks feels like it could be a bit wasteful. We've literally got a double game week right around the corner next week as well to be having a look at, so I don't think that it's worth using them in the singles. But if you feel really set on them getting a win, if you feel like you want to get some points on the board, then it's probably not the worst idea in the world. I think that they will beat Charlton. I don't think that that's a crazy take to say, and I don't think that Charlton fans are expecting a result, but it's the Championship and anything can happen. Yeah, so game week 1 for West Ham was a little bit disappointing for them. They threw it away late on, but before, you know, those late stages in the game, they did look pretty good for the win. They created a lot of chances, 1.33 expected goals, 2.1 expected goals conceded is pretty rough, and you'll notice that a lot of these big teams that we've highlighted, their defences weren't very good last week, but I don't think that there were many defences that were really stand out that I should just be focusing on because of those stats. So maybe a bit of a rogue week in terms of the expected goals conceded, but over the season we will get a better idea of who the good defences and the worst defences are going to be. It's very difficult to kind of make these selections early days, I must say. Leicester, who surely we've got to be looking at getting a win at home to Burton, just the gulf in the quality within these two sides to me is just baffling, and I think that Leicester's quality, surely it's got to shine through. I know that it's not just guaranteed and football isn't played on paper, but it's a really big chance for a win for Leicester at home to Burton. The stats that I've got in blue on these tables are if they have come up or down a league, so the stats you've got to take with a bit of a pinch of salt, especially West Ham's ones when they're coming from the Premier League because things are completely different, but I've tried my best to kind of compile all the stats that I like the look of here as well. yeah, I feel like Leicester, they got a point in the first week, which they will be disappointed with, drawing with Notts County, but I just do think that getting themselves back at home with the quality in their side, it's a good fixture for them and it looks very good. Luton at home to Notts County, similarly, Luton smashed it in the first week. Notts County, I think it was a bit of a shock draw, and I feel like Luton have surely got the quality in their side to be getting a win in this game. The expected goals per 90 last season, especially at the end, Luton were flying at the end of the year. They came in with good expected goals numbers as well in game week 1. They did concede quite a few chances. They conceded 3, didn't they? 2 Jack Marriott, but I think a home fixture against Notts County, I'm hoping for a big win for Luton. I think there's a good chance that I might be on them this week, actually. QPR I'm feeling good about for this week. They got a big away win in the first game of the season. They're at home to Bolton, who, to be fair, Bolton did have a big result themselves, but I do again just think that the Bolton squad is lacking a little bit of quality, and with some of those star-studded attackers that QPR have in their possession, I just think that it's a very, very good fixture for them. We are playing a bit of a guessing game early doors because we've not got all of the perfect numbers to be looking at, but they created so many chances against an attack of Bolton's. I'm not too convinced in it. I think that QPR should get a result, but wouldn't it be very QPR if they ended up dropping points in that game? Bromley at home to Cambridge. Bromley kept a clean sheet, one of the few teams that kept a clean sheet in the first week of the season, keeping up what they did all of last year. We were so impressed by Bromley's defence for the whole of last season. At home to Cambridge has to be one of the better fixtures out there. Even if Cambridge scored 3 in their first game against Wigan, I don't think this suddenly means that Cambridge have one of the best attacks in the league. A home fixture against Cambridge, I still think is lovely, and I think that there's a good chance that I'm going to have a Bromley asset in this week. But obviously we've still got to take it with a pinch of salt, because last season if it was Bromley against Cambridge we probably wouldn't be liking the look of that fixture. Bristol Rovers, this one's a bit of a punt at 1.6% owned at home to Newport, because Newport again had a really good result in the first week. You might be thinking that I'm just kind of picking the teams who have been losing, or the teams who had disappointing results, or they're playing against weird opponents, but I just feel like Bristol Rovers, they carried a lot of momentum from last season. Newport's squad, it's not improved that much. Only 2 points for them in the opening game, but it was against York, who I think are going to have a really, really strong season. I still think that Bristol Rovers at home to Newport is a really, really good chance of a good result. And the expected goals numbers, the attack for Bristol against York as well, was really impressive going away to a team like York for Bristol Rovers. I'm still impressed by it. I still feel good about it. And then Fleetwood at home to Gillingham finally as well. Fleetwood, who did manage to keep a clean sheet in the first week, very impressive against Gillingham, who conceded 3 really late on. Gareth Ainsworth for Gillingham is just under so much pressure at the minute. I think it's a nice fixture for Fleetwood, really liking the look of that one too. An honourable mention to Burnley as well, because I feel like the ending of their game, pulling back to get a draw against West Ham, I think is really going to buoy them up for the fixture against West Brom going into their next game. I think the Burnley squad has loads of quality in it, and it's been overlooked a little bit by fantasy EFL managers too, so I think that Burnley deserve an honourable mention there. But yeah, I feel like there was a lot of waffle in that section. I'm sorry if that's a bit hard to digest, but the numbers are there for you to kind of have a look at. Hopefully they can be a bit useful. And I think that, to be honest, I would feel good about picking any of these as a club for the first week. But my highlights that I'm liking the look of the most, probably Luton and Leicester at the moment. But again, I like Bromley an outside shout. I think Bristol, QPR and Fleetwood, as well as those differentials, they're really hard to ignore. But yeah, Luton and Leicester may be my front runners at the moment, but we'll see when it comes to my team selection later on. For the defenders section, there are some absolute monsters in there this week. Some players who hit a ridiculous number of clearances. There was actually a really, really high number of clearances hit in League 2, especially this week that's just gone. So we're going to talk about a couple of those assets in here as well. Of course, we're going to start with the West Ham asset because they are just the really popular ones, and my favourite defensive asset for them is Mavropanos. I think that you could go Kilman. Got a goal in the first week, I believe, but I do feel like over the course of the season, Mavropanos has a little bit stronger attacking threat. There's probably not an awful lot in it, to be honest, but 0.12 expected goal involvements per 90 last year for Mavropanos does make me feel pretty good about him. And I feel like there was a couple of times in the season when in FPL he was quite strong, wasn't he, for a cheap defender. So I like the Mavropanos shout this week. His clearances are okay. I don't think there's going to be loads of clearances against Charlton because I feel like West Ham are probably going to have a lot of the ball. So I think that the bonus points are a little bit limited here. But the clean sheet chance is surely high if West Ham have loads of chances. Maybe there'll be a lot of corners, a lot of set pieces and stuff as well, although Nathan Jones' side are usually relatively strong from set pieces, but with the quality that Mavropanos has, maybe he gets a goal as well. But he's probably my preferred defender, but I think that Kilman is fine as well from West Ham. Omar Shomi from Bromley, I think is an amazing pick for this week. Home to Cambridge, as we've just said, it's a great fixture. His bonuses are solid. His attacking threat last season was just unreal, and I think that he will still have chances this season as well. 7 goals and 1 assist last season was just crazy numbers. His clearances in game week 1-2, 14, which is massive. 3 bonus points from just clearances too. So an 11 pointer in game week 1. I think that Bromley are riding the wave currently, and until that wave crashes against the shore, I think that Bromley assets are a good pick for this week. Potter from Fleetwood, who I'm surprised his ownership was this high, but I think it's just because he had a really good week in the first week with 12 points. It felt like he should have been like a 0.1%er when I put him in, but obviously people tend to just put in the players who've done really well, especially early on in the season when you're just setting a quick team. Fleetwood, whose defence wasn't amazing last season, but they started the season with a clean sheet, which is very promising. But when you got 16 clearances in one game like he did, then I don't think that there's any doubt that he could be a good shout for this week. I think that Gillingham are relatively direct side too. Gareth Ainsworth, who's not usually known for the champagne football. So I think that Fleetwood, their defence is a really good shout, and Potter would be my preferred option because he got 16 clearances, which is just insane in the first week. Caleb Okoli, I've got him from Leicester, could have been Sutor. Don't think there's much between them, but early signs are that Okoli's bonuses are maybe going to be a little bit better, but equally Sutor's one of those defenders who you'd back to just head a brick away, wouldn't you really, if he came at him. But I guess there's always a slight chance until the window closes that Sutor might leave as well, because there's been loads of rumours elsewhere. But I think that either of them, whoever starts, just wait for the lineup, and either one of them are going to be good picks. And Okoli, decent attacking threat last year, decent clearances with nearly 8 on average as well per game. I think that Okoli is a really nice shout for the good fixture against Burton. Naismith at Luton, I think there's a few different Luton defenders that you could maybe go for, but in the first week his tackles were actually crazy. He got 10 tackles, I believe, in the game or something like that. Got loads of bonuses then because of that. Got a 7-pointer despite conceding 3 goals in the game, which is crazy. His clearances aren't really outstanding with 5 clearances, but I'm keen because Luton have an early kickoff game. I want to keep the goalkeeper slot open in case a vice captaincy trick potentially happens, so I'd like to then pick a Luton defender rather than going with Keeley in there. But I do think that Keeley is a fine pick. If you're not sure what the vice captaincy trick is, by the way, go and have a look at my ultimate guide to fantasy EFL video that I put out, my first video of this season, because we go through it in the captaincy section. We've got kind of markers. What's the word that tell you what point of the video is? But anyway, in the captaincy section you'll be able to see. But the vice captaincy trick, or just ask me a question over on my Instagram or on my Twitter, I'll explain it to you. Raggett from Colchester, 22 clearances in the first week. Goodness me, we know that Tucker for Colchester's always been great, and I think he got 16 clearances, something like that, which again is amazing in the first week. But 22 clearances, it's mad. He got 6 points in the first week. Colchester's defence was fine last season, it was okay. I think that the home fixture against Oldham is alright as well. Oldham, who've lost Mellon too, so they're not going to have him for the season. I think that it's okay, and I think that it's a fine pick and one that's going to be solid for bonuses if Raggett keeps it up. If you're not sure on the data for Raggett, because last season's clearance data, I put a question mark next to it because he didn't actually play that many minutes. If you're not 100% convinced by his clearances, then I would just go for Tucker, because I think that he's going to get good minutes, and we know that his clearances are always good, they're consistently good. And then I've gone for Shering from Rochdale. Rochdale got absolutely pumped in the first week, so take this one with a bit of a pinch of salt. He's 0% owned, maybe for a reason, but I think that a home fixture against Crawley I like. They got 20 clean sheets, they're the best defence in the National League last season. It usually translates pretty well coming up, but there's obviously no guarantees. I don't know enough about League 2 to be like, yeah, Rochdale have a strong side and they're going to do well, but I'm just basing it off the trend in recent years. Teams have come up and they've continued, and they've tend to kind of keep pretty consistent. I know that Niels Ramming is a new goalkeeper for Rochdale, so maybe that's going to have disrupted things a little bit, and he's pretty young too, but I still think that at home against Crawley, whose side isn't full of too much quality, I think that it could be good, and Shering's bonuses in the first week with 10 were really, really good too. So a bit of a differential there, a bit of a rogue one because they conceded a few goals in the first week, but just going off how strong their defence was last season, I still like it for Rochdale. Honourable mentions, we spoke about Gomez right at the start of the video. I still feel like, given how attacking he is, in any given week he's going to be very, very strong. But you're taking the risk, you're risking those 1-pointers like we got in the first week. He might get subbed early, he's not got the tackles, he's not got the clearances, not got the blocks that other defensive assets do have. But if Wolves keep a clean sheet, he ends up scoring a goal in the game, you're looking at a mega haul, and it's far more likely for him to hit a mega haul than one of these defenders who kind of relies on clearances. So very, very low floor, very high ceiling. Depends if you're a bit of a risk taker, but I still like the look of Gomez. We spoke about Boys last week, and I'm very happy that he did well, an ex-Wickham boy. I think that he's got a high ceiling, but maybe just not the fixture this week. But with how attacking he is again, he's still a good shout. And then Fitzwater at Exeter too, another clearance machine. And I don't mind the game this week for Exeter, so maybe that could be another shout too. Enough defensive yap, let's get into the midfielders. Now in the midfield section, we've got some really, really exciting assets for the week. I'm not going to talk about Lewis Wing too much because I know that everybody who was watching the videos last season will just be bored to death of him. But if you weren't watching, this guy was just the GOAT. He was so good. He averaged, I think, over 8 points per game last season. He's just got all the routes to points. He's got the interceptions nailed down, as you'll see, 1.32 per 90. He's got the attacking threat. He gets key passes because of set pieces, he takes penalties, really, really good asset, and he's playing Wimbledon, who are a bit of a difficult defence. Is it the perfect game for interceptions? I don't know, because Wimbledon, how much will they play through the middle? It's a little bit kind of remains to be seen, but I still think that it's a strong fixture for attacking threat. I like it for Lewis Wing again this week, and there's probably a high chance that he ends up as my captain. Elias Chair next up for QPR, who had a flying week in the first week. We spoke about him in the differentials. He ends up getting 21 points. He's up over 14% owned so far for this week, which I think is a little bit high given the fact that he got 1 goal and 2 assists last season. But his minutes were very limited last year, and he still got 0.5 on expected goal involvements per 90. I think it's a great pick. I think that the QPR attack I really like the look of. I initially had Kone in my first draft for game week 2 before the season had started, but now obviously he didn't play in game week 1, so probably not looking at it. But I like the Burrell pick as well. Burrell or Chair, I think, are both really nice attackers to have for this fixture for QPR. Palmer for Luton, who just went crazy last week, didn't he? And again, I spoke about him for Fantasy EFL's content. I'm doing a little bit of work with them. Go and follow my Instagram because you'll see all the videos, the team reveals, the differential picks that I'm putting out with them. And we spoke about Palmer in that, so I was super happy that I ended up doing well. The fixture at home to Notts County is perfect. Plays in that 10 role for Luton. Not really a big interceptor, but just a very high ceiling. He got 8 goals and 1 assist last season in, I think it was in his last 11 games, something like that. So then starting the season with 2 goals, he's carried that form over. I think Palmer's a very, very good pick. And there's so much hype around him at Luton because he re-signed as well. He's just a legend there at the minute. So I think that Palmer is a solid shout, and I can understand why 12% of people are looking at him right now. Mano Sullivan, you can see I've got the blue boxes in again for if players have come down a league or played in a different league last season. I've actually used his stats from the Championship in 24-25 when he played for Leeds in Fantasy EFL. He was such a good option that season, and I think that he's going to be great again. I think he played 89 minutes in that first game, which shows that he's going to be very trusted. His minutes are probably going to be solid. 10 goals, 12 assists in his last season in the Championship. He's a great shout. He had 0.65 expected goal involvements per 90. The only problem with Solomon is then you can't pick a Bowen, you can't pick a Castellanos if you've got a defender in there for West Ham. Are most people going to have 2 West Ham assets? I think a lot of people will do. It's just deciding who you want out of them. I probably wouldn't double up on the attackers because I always think in one given fixture, what's the chances that 2 attackers hit a massively high points haul? I don't think it's that likely. So I would kind of pick one of Solomon, Castellanos or Bowen. Just got to make up your mind over who it is, and I think that Solomon is a really, really good shout. I don't think that he'll have set pieces or penalties though, so that's maybe something to be aware of. Norwood for Stockport, who was so consistent last season. I actually got a comment in the comment section last year which was saying about why Norwood might drop off this season. And I don't think that he will. I don't think that his age is just like rapidly catching up to him or anything like that. I think that if anything, the start of the season, the first game week, has gone really well. I just wasn't really sure how to tackle that question too much, because it's a bit of a tricky one. I don't think that he necessarily is going to drop off. I think that an 8-pointer in game week 1 is great. I think that he's still got those interception potentials. He's going to be taking penalties. He's going to be on key passes, and his minutes are still really good for them. So still the main man. He's been given the number 10 shirt for a reason. I think that Norwood, especially with a fixture against Blackpool, who their defence was a little bit weak against Wickham, it looked open at times. I think that Norwood's key passes, he's got the attacking threat against them too. So yeah, Norwood, I definitely like him for the routes to points. Jordan Clark as well, his routes to points are amazing. His interceptions are decent. Scored 12 goals last season, which is absolutely massive, with 0.54 expected goal involvements per 90. He's a penalty taker too. A little bit similar to Norwood and Wing, but maybe a little bit more directly attacking. I think that Clark, again, similarly to Palmer, very, very good fixture, but I would just probably pick one of Palmer or Clark if you want to go for the Luton attack. But against Notts County, it's great. And then we've got Conte at the bottom here, who is a really interesting one because he started the season as an absolute interception monster. The signs were there in 2024-25, and I remember speaking about him a lot in my threads that I was posting over on the Twitter at the time. I always had an interception section. If you're somebody who was reading those back in the day, shout out to you, you're a legend. The interception special, the weekly special, was great. And he had 1.57 interceptions per 90 that year. Last year was only 0.62 for Conte, but his minutes were a little bit more limited. He started the season showing that he is definitely a strong interceptor in the game. He got 6 interceptions last week, which is crazy. I think in the cup match to start the season, I think I heard that he got 3 or 4. It was FEFL Syndicate over on Twitter who I read actually talking about Conte, which alerted me to this. Had seen that he got a bunch of points, but I just assumed that he scored. He actually got 6 interceptions, so go and give Fantasy EFL Syndicate a follow because he's a really, really good Fantasy EFL manager over on Twitter, and shout out to you for letting me know about that. And yeah, I think that Conte, given how strong the interceptions have been this year and how they were in the past when he was getting solid minutes, I think that it's great. And the fixture against Cambridge, he's not really an attacking kind of player, but if there's going to be a game when you get a chance, it's going to be at home to Cambridge out of any of the games in League One. Honourable mentions, Jack Payne, so consistent. Sammy Smodics, we know how high that ceiling is, and he started the season really well in good form. When Sammy Smodics gets a vein of former purple patch, he can be an asset who is so explosive. And then Ewan Henderson from Wickham. Wanted to talk about one Wickham asset at least, because I've got an itch and I need to scratch it, need to speak. But if I was going to pick any Wickham player at home to Plymouth who conceded a few goals in the first week, Henderson looks so involved for us. He's got interception threat, maybe takes the odd set piece. I wouldn't really rely on that too much, but he's just getting in the right areas for a lot of chances at the start of the season. So quite like Ewan Henderson. If you want a bit of an outside shout from myself, it would be Henderson from Wickham for this week. But enough waffle, because we've got a lot of attackers to still discuss. So let's get into them very shortly. So finally, the attackers that we're looking at for game week 2, we're going to start talking about Jared Bowen. 48.2% is just like mind-boggling to me, the fact that he's this popular. I understand it, I do completely get it, but just seeing an asset in Fantasy EFL when there's 72 teams worth of assets to be choosing from, it's crazy seeing that for Bowen. But I understand why people like it. He's going to have penalties, he's going to have set pieces. I just worry that he's not directly as much of an attacking threat as like Castellanos could be. Castellanos, I feel like if I was going to bet on one to win the Golden Boot, I think I said this last week, I would probably bet on Castellanos because he's the out-and-out striker, and I think he played 90 minutes in the first week too. But equally, Castellanos' XGI wasn't very high in the first week. Bowen got 0.69. If somebody's going to step up for them and drag them through this season, maybe it's more likely to be Bowen. I don't know, Bowen got himself an assist in the first week, but I think that both him and Castellanos are good shouts. But just given how the difference in the percentage, I just feel like there's a lot of value in Castellanos, and you've taken a big gamble going for a winger as a forward really with Bowen. But I don't know, I still think that he's a great pick, and there's probably a chance that he ends up in my team for this week anyway. Lancashire for Middlesbrough. Still really like it. Got a brace in the first week, which fills me with a lot of confidence for his season. I think that he might score 20 plus this year. I really, really do. And Blackburn away is a nice fixture as well. Although Blackburn did look good in the first week, equally they put in a really strong performance and they still conceded 2 goals. It was away at Wolves, which is a tough place to go, but it doesn't get much easier playing at home to Lancashire. And also Blackburn struggled at home at times last year. Ewood Park can get a little bit hostile. So with 1.24 expected goal involvements in the first week, I think Lancashire's a great pick. And don't just forget about him because of last week. Don't just move on and think because he's not playing against Lincoln this week. Still think that Blackburn is a really good fixture for him. Jack Marriott, who scored a hat-trick, we are obliged to talk about this week. We've got to do it. 26 points is crazy. Luton, that video of Jack Wilshere complaining about them conceding on the counter-attack is just mega, but maybe that kind of goes to show that Marriott's goals came on the counter. Are they going to be counter-attacking against Wimbledon? Remember Marriott scoring a couple of goals against Wycombe last year, which also were on the counter too, whereas I feel like this is a game where they're going to have a lot more of the possession. It might take something more special to unlock them. I don't know, this is just hunches, this is just based on what I've seen from Reading games, but I just do feel like maybe the fixture is going to favour a Lewis Wing more than a Jack Marriott, but going for a player who scored a hat-trick in the first week, he's in so much confidence and it's a weak defence. You probably can't go too far wrong with it, can you? Zian Fleming now for Burnley. This one's getting overlooked a lot, and I think that we're going to see Fleming hit the 10% quite a few times this season when the fixtures turn a little bit kinder for Burnley. Do still think that there's a lot of value in West Brom away. Don't think that their defence is absolutely watertight. Fleming scoring 2 goals to start the season, coming off the back of an 11-goal season for Burnley last year as well. Still think that he's a nice pick, and 1.75 expected goal involvements. He had chances in that game against West Ham, who have one of the best defences in the league. So then going to West Brom, I feel like he's going to get chances again, and they'll take penalties too, so I do think that Fleming's a really nice pick. And then Alfie May, he's one of my favourites for this week, for sure. At home to Barnsley, 0.6%, I'm expecting that to rise a lot before the deadline. I used the stat quite a few times last week and the week before and stuff. Alfie May, he's averaged just under 18 goals per season over the last 5 years. Last year was a blip in that, 7 goals and 6 assists. Is his age catching up to him? Maybe, but he's still Alfie May. Didn't mean the maybe as a pun, I promise. Wish that I thought of it now though. But yeah, I do think that Barnsley's defence is there to be got. I think they're in for a rough season this year. There's not an awful lot of positivity in the Barnsley camp from the people who I've heard anyway. I know that Scotty's not feeling great about it, but if you want to kind of find out more information about the Barnsley games, I would go to Scotty FEFL. He's your guy to speak to about it. What a legend he is. But yeah, Alfie May, I think he's going to get chances this week. He's going to be on penalties. He's already scored a goal in the Cup this year. And yeah, with the minutes looking good for him, 0.65 expected goal involvements per 90 last year. Alfie May is a fantasy EFL legend, and I think he's got a good chance this season too. Honourable mentions, Jimenez got a goal in the first week. Think that he'll probably start this week, given the fact that they were struggling a little bit with Adam Armstrong before Jimenez came on, although Armstrong did get a couple of chances to get shots away. And then Shimanga as well, who I think he got a goal and assist in the first week too. I think that he's a nice shout for the week, but Jimenez probably out of those two I feel a little bit better about. But it just depends, given the lineups. Is Jimenez going to start? We don't know. If he starts with Adam Armstrong, as I said last week, then I think that really we should be getting excited about him as an asset. But that's where we're at for the forwards. Some really exciting picks. My go-to at the minute, I don't know, it depends. I'm kind of leaning towards Solomon out of the West Ham attack, which then might lead me to Alfie May being my striker. But again, like we've said for a few of the other sections, any of those plays could be really nice. I do think that Zian Fleming, there's a lot of joy there too as a differential, but Bowen, Lancashire and Castellanos are hard to look away from too. Gather around everyone and welcome back to the Experts Corner. Super excited this week to be welcoming Fantasy EFL Charlie back onto the channel for Experts Corner, and just to hear Charlie's thoughts ahead of the week. He's always really good explaining his kind of decision making, his thoughts. So yeah, looking forward to hearing who Charlie's got. Congratulations on the massive win last season. So buzzing for Charlie. He's a great guy, a great part of the community. Hosts a lot of spaces on evenings before in the midweek before the Fantasy EFL game weeks as well, where there's a great bunch of guys who go and talk about their thoughts on the Fantasy EFL assets. So go and give Charlie a follow over on Twitter and join in and listen in to his spaces as well, because they're very good. But for now, Needs no further introduction. The reigning champion of Fantasy EFL. Let's hear who Charlie's got in his team.
Hey everyone, Charlie here. Thank you Toby for having me on Experts Corner this week. Let's get into my team. I'd be surprised if Notts County got a goal at Luton this week, so I've gone with Josh Keeley in goal as a safe pick. Despite conceding 3 goals away at Reading, I think back at home they'll be a lot stronger defensively, so I'm pretty happy to back him in goal. Firstly in defence I've gone for Mavropanos from newly relegated West Ham. The home fixture to Charlton is a great opportunity for a clean sheet, especially with Nathan Jones' mindset in fixtures like this. He's also got really good goal threat, which makes up for the lack of clearances in this game, so I do think that could be a really good opportunity for a mega haul here. I'm not too secure on my second defender slot, but I'm pretty happy to have Sutar in at the minute. That fixture against Burton at home is really nice and he possesses some really great goal threat. Although the Leicester defence did get caught out quite a few times by Notts County last weekend, and I think it might take some time to adapt to Russell Martin's system of playing out from the back, so it might be one I change quite a lot this week. Moving on to midfield, I've currently got Mark Helm in my first midfielder slot this week. I really like the fixture at home to Gillingham for an attacking midfielder like Helm. I think he can get quite a few key passes and shots on target, and there's the off chance of interception as well. He's on free kicks, and towards the back end of last season he was playing pretty well for Fleetwood, and I managed to get a 25-point haul out of him, which helped me win the game last year. So I'm pretty happy to go back there as I need some points on the board this week. My other midfielder and captain for this week at the moment is Jordan Clark. The fixture at home to Notts County offers a really good opportunity for attacking returns. He's got penalties, really good key pass numbers, he's got the off chance of interception as well. I could easily just go for Lewis Wing as my captain in this position, but I don't think the fixture away at Wimbledon is going to be great for his interceptions, so I think it is a good week to go against him, so I'm happy to go with Jordan Clark here for now. Into the forward positions, and I do think there is a good 10 to 15 forwards that you could choose this week, and I wouldn't think they're very bad at all. But for now I've currently got Alfie May from Doncaster as my first forward. I do really like that fixture against Barnsley at home, who have currently got a pretty weak team with a whole bunch of people out of position. I wouldn't be surprised if Doncaster got about 2 or 3 goals there, and Alfie May being on penalties, 90-minute man up front. He's been getting a few chances in the first few games for Doncaster. I think he'll be pretty bad to not get a goal here against this really bad Barnsley team, so I've got him in at the minute. In my other forward slot I've currently got Carl Wooden. He should get a decent amount of chances here against an injury-hit Blackpool side at home, and he does often perform quite well at home. He doesn't have pens, but I still back him to get a return or two here with the amount of chances they're going to make for him. Outside of the 2 forwards I've got at the minute, I especially like Jack Marriott off the back of his hat-trick against Luton last week. Wimbledon's defence did look quite leaky at Huddersfield and did get caught out quite often by counter-attacks before a red card. So I do think Marriott may take full advantage of the lack of pace in our defence, and he may score a goal or 2 here. On to my 2 team picks for this week. I've currently got Stockport and Southampton for their home fixtures against Blackpool and Stoke. I do think they'll both win pretty comfortably in these 2 games, and I don't think they'll be insanely valuable throughout the season. If I wasn't caring about value, I would 100% be on Luton over one of them, as I do think they are almost a guaranteed 3 or 4-0 win. But I've gone with these 2 for now, as I back them just as much. Again, thank you Toby for having me on Experts Corner for the second week of the season. Good luck everyone in this week, and hope that your season goes pretty well. Bye bye.
Thanks very much to Charlie for going through his current team selection. The team is looking very, very strong. And now let's have a look at my own team selection as well, who I've got for the week. I'm feeling good about it. I feel like the squad is looking pretty strong. I do think there's a chance that I might change things about because there's 72 different clubs to be having a look at and to be choosing from this week. So there's obviously going to be a chance that lineups kind of change things and end up looking at different assets. But for now, the Leicester assets that we've got McCarthy in goal. As I mentioned earlier, this is just because they play at 3 PM. Rather than going for Keeley from Luton and then going for Okoli or going for Sutar in my defence. But I do think that either Sutar or Okoli are really nice picks as well. But yeah, I wanted to keep that kind of goalkeeper pick open for if I get a vice-captain trick. It's a little bit speculative, but we'll see what happens. The Leicester team pick, just surely they're going to beat Burton at home, right? Let's fast forward to next week when I'm, going through my team and they've had a shock result. But yeah, feel good about it for Leicester. Mavropanos and Solomon have been the picks that I've gone for from West Ham. I think that doubling up's a good idea. Tripling up you could do, but I do just want to save the team picks. Mavropanos, I like the goal threat. Solomon, he's so solid in the Championship. Given a fixture that's as nice as the Charlton game, and he scored in the first week too. Really like it. Naismith, Palmer and the Luton team pick, we have tripled up, and we've got the vice captaincy on Palmer as well. I think it's a great fixture for a very, very good attack like Luton, scoring 4 goals in the first week. Wilshire's got them playing some amazing stuff, and it's a nice early kickoff that I'll be able to watch before Wickham stress me out at the 3 p.m. So feeling very good about Luton's chances. I've got the captaincy on wing. Honestly, could captain Palmer here. Could captain Solomon, could even captain May, to be honest. I like all of these, but wing's just so consistent with a fixture that's as nice as the Wimbledon one. I think that he's going to stay, and he didn't disappoint me last week. 6 points, I was absolutely fine with it, with the interceptions, and he's not even started his goal scoring or his assist account for the season. Has all the penalties, has set pieces. I feel great about it. And then Alfie May up front. It's a bit of a punt. It's a bit of an out there one because there's so many high-owned forwards that we could go for, but given how much Barnsley's defence struggled last season, they could barely string a clean sheet together, and given that he's going to be a 90-minute man, the main man on penalties for Doncaster in a derby, again that's in one of the early kickoffs too. Feel good about Alfie May, but could easily swap out to a Bowen or a Castellanos and move the team around, or even look at a few of the other forwards that we mentioned too. So that's where the team is at the moment. A lot of choice. I do even like the likes of Norwood, Henderson from Wickham. I think that if there's any shocks in team news, maybe I just end up showing Henderson in just for the fun of it, for the fun of being able to watch him try and get some points together. But I did promise myself that I wasn't going to let bias ruin my points tally, ruin my season. But I do think that he's a nice pick for the week. That's where we're at with my Fantasy EFL Game Week 2 team. Let me know how yours is looking down below. I'm very interested to hear. That's all for my Game Week 2 Fantasy EFL preview. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all of the recent support. Again, as I said earlier, it's meant the absolute world. We're on the road. We're nearly at 900 subscribers, so help me hit that, please. If you're not subscribed already, hit subscribe. And the road to 1,000, we are so close to actually doing it, which is just a dream. Hit like if you haven't already too. Let me know if you've got any questions that you're struggling with down in the comments. Give me a shout on my Instagram, Toby Large Media. I'm trying to post a lot more over there this season, including fantasy EFL content, so go and give me a follow over there because I'm going to be as active as possible as I can. And we've got some behind the scenes of my recent trip to Palermo there too, where hopefully I'll post a little bit of a vlog as well. Yeah, thanks again for all of the recent support. I wish you all the best of luck. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you this time next week for our first double game week 3. Already buzzing for it. See you again soon. Have a great one, and peace. Love you.